Miami's hot, 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 fire. Miami's hot, 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 fire. Sorry. Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner. And we are back again for another review of the Real Housewives of Miami. If you couldn't tell by my singing, a little bit of a hoarse throat. Season 6, episode 3, and it's called Loose Lips. And before I get into this review, I'm gonna first just state, like, the episode wasn't that long of an episode, and it also wasn't as fast-paced and filmed the way the first 2 episodes have been filmed. I feel like this episode was a little bit more of a filler, and then honestly, at this point, if you haven't been watching any of my reviews so far, you might notice I use a lot of filler words. I'm still trying to get used to this. You probably could get drunk off my reviews, just saying. You might end up getting alcohol poisoning with my reviews for how many times I use filler words. My apologies. We're new to this, okay? Anyway, the episode does continue with Larsa and Gertie, and y'all know I don't like Larsa, right? let's just keep it a buck. Y'all know I don't like Larsa, and this episode, this is exactly why. So Gertie finally does just blurt out that she has breast cancer. She just blurted out, and she's crying, and she's just trying to have a safe space. And Larsa's reaction was the most emotionally immature, lack of empathy type of answer I have ever seen. Like, ever. So she's like, how do you know? She's still yelling at her saying, how do you know? How do you know? Like, just, who do you know? Because her and her fillers, I'm sorry, I don't like Larsa. I don't like Larsa. If y'all are Larsa fans here, you might want to just not even do this video, come to this video, because I do not like Larsa, so there's that. But she was just being really, really just impossible, and to be honest, it was a super hard scene to watch, just the way Larsa was behaving. Because for me, the way Larsa was behaving, I don't know if I would have had the grace or self-control that Gertie had. But that's what it is. But anyway, before I move on to the next scene, because I just don't even want to talk about it too much because I was so irritated about how she reacted. She finally did listen, but she didn't really listen all the way, because Gertie did say in this scene, hey, you're the second, I haven't even told my family yet. Like, I'm still going through, I'm still in the phase of telling people, I want you to keep this guarded. Don't say anything yet. And she made it very clear when she was talking to Larsa to not say anything. And honestly, the way Larsa was acting, if that was me, I would have never told Larsa. I would have let Larsa find out like the rest of us found out. And she would have been more mad, but I wouldn't have cared. Because honestly, what transpires next, this is why. So, yeah. So 6 hours later, and the producers let us know it really was 6 hours later. Like, they literally say on the screen, which I don't think I've ever seen producers be this biased, but I'm kind of okay with it because whatever. Larsa made it about her, and so we're at Larsa's house because she actually is and did throw Marcus Jordan a welcome back party after he was only gone for 5 days. Not even the full week. He was gone for 5 days. And she tells her friends immediately, and this is not people that are like on the show as far as like cast member friends, like her actual friends, but it's still on camera, about Gertie having cancer. And she said it like yeah, and I painted my house today. It was like, it was so, just as a matter of fact, so like, I didn't know how to feel about it. She made it all about her and how she feels about Gertie having cancer, not the fact that this woman has a very aggressive, evasive cancer, which also, for those who were on Larsa's side for this, no. Because when it comes to breast cancer, fatality rates is much higher in Black and brown women than it is for like our counterparts. So this is, to me, this is not a joke. This is not funny. It's not cool. So I just want to, that's why I feel even more away about it. But I'm going to allow myself grace and not go off on Larsa like I really want to in this review, because this review just started. But the good news is they get this. Larsa isn't on this episode that much outside of this. Thank God. But so yeah, she ends up telling a couple of her friends, and then the rest of the cast starts showing up to this party. So then next we have Lisa and Jody. They showed up, and they are giving Brittany and Justin Timberlake BMA's denim chic. Like, they literally, the producers even did side by side, and they were literally doing the matching denims of it all. And then Marisol and then her husband Steve appear next. They're wearing all black. And then Kiki shows up. And Kiki shows up thinking that Larsa throwing this party was going to be a joke, but she did that actually. And they're just talking about how ridiculous this is, that she's literally throwing this man a party after he's been gone for 5 days. It's like, and he was only like in Orlando, Florida. Yeah. Anyway, so then she doesn't waste any time and tells immediately the ladies that Gertie has cancer. She didn't even waste any time. So, and I should also preface this, before this scene, when she was talking to Gertie, she was joking about how, like, yeah, should I just tell TMZ about this? She didn't need to tell TMZ. She is TMZ. That was not really a joke. She was kind of dead serious about that. She is TMZ. Yeah. It's ridiculous, but anyway, so the rest of the ladies had a normal reaction, I would say, which isn't good. I mean, but they had a reaction like feeling for her and, you know, saying, hey, we're going to rally around her and it is what it is. And, yeah, and Marisol, she started crying immediately because, and so that was kind of nice to see Marisol with that kind of reaction. I mean, it's not good to see that, but it was nice to see that all the ladies minus Larsa appeared to care. Larsa's the only one that just doesn't have any bone of empathy in her, clearly. Anyway, so after that, Alexia and Todd appear. And then Lisa does state that she finds it odd that Todd's appearing at someone else's event but not his own. And we know why Todd's appearing at someone else's event and not his own. Like, we know really why. I feel like he does not want to, doesn't want to be part of the story of the show. He wants to be on, like, he's cool with filming, but he doesn't really want to be part of the show, if that makes sense. But the funny thing is, by him not appearing at his own event, it's doing the opposite effect. It's actually making him more part of the show than he probably wanted. Because a lot of times, you know, when people get involved in reality TV stars, they may not actually want to be part of that life. Like, they love the person they're with, but they want to be part of that life. And they can't really say that on camera for whatever reason. So I think that's what it is, and they're kind of dancing around it. But anyway, So then Larsa State tells Alexia, but this is after Marisol say, hey, just tell Alexia what's going on. And at this point, it's too late. She already did. Damage is already done. You already ran your mouth. At this point, does it matter anymore who all you're telling? Because you already did it, like, more than once. And so while she's telling Alexia what's going on, Marcus does show up at her place, and he looks surprised, as I would be too, because he's just like, I was only gone for 5 days. Okay, and then they kiss or whatever. I still don't believe this relationship. But anyway, so as soon as like he shows up and he's like saying hey to everybody, he wastes no time and greets Todd. And he's like, I expected to see you at your house when I was there. Kind of helping along with the story. And Todd does, say to everyone the reason why he did not come to his own event is because he had issue with some of the people that were invited at the event. Because some of the people that are there were talking about his family, talking about, Frankie and Peter and Alexia's children. And that's his family too, because he's married to Alexia. So he has an issue with that. And then everyone's asking, who are you talking about? Who are you talking about? And they were talking about Adriana. So a continuation of this scene, Kiki calls it, and I hope next season Kiki is a full-time housewife because I want to know more about Kiki. I love Kiki. Kiki gives the comedy relief. She says what the people are thinking. I love her. Kiki's amazing. But Kiki does stay in her confessionals calling Alexia and Todd out, saying like, sounds like you're using Adriana as a scapegoat for the real reason why you didn't want to be there. And I agree. Because if that was the reason, you would have said that 2 episodes ago. And last episode. But you were tap dancing around it until this episode. It seems like y'all came up with a plan so that you guys can present around everyone as a united front. Yeah. So Kiki, we see each other on that one. So then Todd immediately tries to get the subject, get the attention off of him and asks what's going on with Marcus. And we find out that Marcus and Larsa are planning on doing a basketball charity event that will go towards Make-A-Wish Foundation, and they're going to be divided into 2 teams. So that's going to be the thing. And of course, it's about basketball. Because why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be? This is the other reason why I don't believe this relationship. Anyway, so we then pan over talking to Lisa about what the next steps are for Lisa, and she's like, yeah, Jody and I were just trying to figure out, we're looking for houses. I might move in with him. We're trying to take things slow. She doesn't want to like hop in another relationship to another relationship, because she's still in the middle of this pretty turbulent divorce. And she also states that she wants to also gain her sense of independence because she was so dependent on Lenny, on everything, like financially dependent and all that stuff. And so she's working on trying to get some businesses together, like beauty businesses and things like that. And so that is what was said there. And also, while all this is happening, though, we go from that, and Larsa's basically stating in her confessional while Lisa's saying this how proud she is of her. And this is the part that just confuses me about Larsa. It seems like Larsa only has any form of compassion or care towards Lisa and Lisa only in this group. It's like when it comes to, but maybe, I think the only reason why we think that is because their situations were pretty similar. because Larsa, for those who don't know, Larsa Pippen, she kept the name, Scottie Pippen's ex-wife. She was very financially dependent on him. And so I think the only reason why part of me thinks this, and I don't know if it's true or not, because I don't know these people in real life, but part of me thinks that Larsa has empathy towards Lisa because it mirrors the situation that she had with her marriage and that ending. So I think that's because it basically, she could see it like for herself. So it almost doesn't feel like it's a place of true empathy. It's more of a place of, it happened to me. It still seems like it's very still self-absorbed in a way, in a sick way. Because, I don't know, I just find it hard to see otherwise with Larsa, just because of everything else she does. It's just so annoying. But from there, Lisa goes on from talking about that to start going like full on ranting and raving about Lenny to everyone who will listen. And the ladies are trying to get her to stop because she's doing too much. You're in a whole entire new relationship with another man. He's in the other room, and yet you're ranting and raving and being so passionate about your ex-husband and how he treats you, this, that, and this, and that. And it's just disrespectful to the relationship, her current relationship, that she's doing all that. And it's just kind of one of those things where she should not feel as comfortable as she does doing that. It's like it's just not healthy. And I feel like based off of this episode, and I'll go more into what happens afterwards because there's more that happens. Unfortunately, I don't see Jody and Lisa lasting if it stays this way, because she just is not. She's not being mature about it, and I understand why that would happen, because divorces are hard, and let's not get twisted. Lenny is not a good guy. He is a horrible human. We can tell. We've seen it on the show throughout the season. I don't think it's a bad edit. I think he really is not a nice person. But it doesn't help your case that you are doing what you're doing. You're kind of putting yourself in a horrible light, and you're not getting the help you need. So next, we have Dr. Nicole and Anthony. They're shopping for a new boat. And, I love these type of things because it was just ambulance, excellentness, showing the boats, and the boat isn't like a baby boat. These are like yachts, okay? Like nice boats with cabins and everything else. Like one of the boats that they were looking at was $8.8 million. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I was just like, So, ambulance and fabulosity, was loving it. So, when I was watching this whole entire scene, it was a fun, cute little scene. And I was like, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And we find out, though, in this scene that they are actually planning on having another child. So Dr. Nicole, she states she's going to be 39 soon. And so because of, it's better now, or it's either now or never, according, like kind of what she was getting at. And they were talking about how it may not be so easy this time around because she is now 39. And I think they mentioned Grayson's age. I think she was probably in her late 20s when Grayson was a thing. And Grayson's still around, clearly. But I mean, when she was pregnant with Grayson, I think she was in her 20s. So the conceiving part was not as much of a risk, if you will. And as we know, Dr. Nicole is a doctor, so she's going to be talking about these things. And so they pretty much came with a consensus. Next step is baby, and then they're gonna get married. So they're pushing this wedding back. It's totally not a priority. It's pretty obvious. So next we have Julie FaceTiming Gertie, and we find out that Julia is practicing or learning opera. So there's a piece of music, and I don't know, I forgot what the name of the song is. This is a very commonly known opera song that everyone hears, like, is that song? I can't think of the name of the song. But she wants, we find out it's Martina's favorite song, and they bonded and got closer throughout Martina's cancer treatment with that song. So she wants to put an event together as kind of like a FU to cancer event for Martina, and wants to then perform the song. So she's getting trained by like an actual vocal person to do this. And she's also stating to Gertie that, hey, if you need us to reach out to find out, you know, what, if you have any questions or concerns with what's going on with your diagnosis, because we know, Martina literally she's now in remission from having breast cancer, and this is actually Martina's second bout of having breast cancer. So, unfortunately, she's pretty equipped with knowledge when it comes to, you know, navigating it, and then Julia, as a supportive partner, is equipped when it comes to that too. So, yeah. So she's like, okay, cool. If I have any questions or concerns, I'll definitely reach out to you guys because my battle's beginning. And anyway, so they close that, and then the rest of the scene is Julia practicing, and it's pretty comical. Next, we do have Gertie and Russell, her husband, walking and talking about, you know, what the steps are on what they need to do as far as navigating Gertie and his cancer diagnosis. So we do find out in this scene that Russell was the one who ended up telling the children because Gertie could not bring herself to doing it, which totally understandable. And Russell is a little bit probably more of the grounded one of the two when it comes to like his emotions. So he was able to tell the kids, and the kids has such sweet responses because they still, I forgot which child it was, but they're not really aware of what cancer is for real. So they're asking, is it contagious? Is mommy gonna be okay? It was so sweet, and you could tell Gertie was, you know, trying to hold it together even in the scene as they're talking about what, you know, the children's response were, because she didn't know. She was asking Russell what, you know, the children's response were to all this. And Russell states like, yeah, I went online to look to, you know, see what partners do for this type of situation. So apparently, and I didn't know this because I've never been in this situation, as in having a significant other, you know, having a serious illness, that there are support groups like that out there, and that's awesome to hear. And so it was such a beautiful scene. I actually kind of broke down and cried a little bit because of how beautiful the scene was and how beautiful Russell and Gertie's relationship appeared to be, at least on screen. I mean, I don't know these people in real life. But Gertie did say that God did not put him on this earth to deal with her stuff. And she didn't say stuff. She said the other word. And he immediately didn't even let that breathe. He's like, he stated that her stuff is his stuff. And he's got her. He got her back. I cried. I was like, oh, I would love that in a partner. It was beautiful. So it sounds like, and what we're seeing, Gertie has a great support system. And so, yeah. Next, we have Lisa talking to Jody about how Lenny just took her car. So the divorce is getting, well, ugly like we knew it was going to get. And Lisa states in her confessional And I mean, she's complaining. It's actually quite annoying and quite bad because she's treating Jody. And I forgot to mention this in the previous scene. My feedback of how Lisa's been acting. She is treating Jody like a therapist. And girl, you need to get a therapist. Your partner should not be your therapist. But because it sounds like Lenny was like kind of like her first true love and stuff, and then the love, went away after a while. She doesn't have experience in all this department to realize that like you're pushing beyond boundaries of your partner, which is not fair to your partner. She's not being fair to Jody at all, to be honest. Like, so I'm starting to look at Lisa differently by how she's behaving. Because she's not really being okay. But I mean, I don't expect her to be okay because she's going through something very, very dramatic. But I would say anyone of sound mind, with the help of therapy, you would be able to navigate this a lot better. Or don't be in a serious relationship right away. Let it breathe. Get yourself together first and then get in a relationship. But if you insist in being in a relationship, you need to get yourself a therapist. And she even said it in the confessional. That's why I kind of felt away. She said, I really should get a therapist, but Jody's my therapist. No. Jody's not your therapist. He's your partner. They should not be the same. Okay? Like, if things go wrong between you two, or if you need things to improve, what do you two go see? A therapist, because Jody is not your therapist. You don't sleep with your therapist. I hope Lisa gets it together and stops treating this man like this because I don't like it. I don't respect it. I know you're going through a hard time, but you don't treat other people like crap because you're going through a hard time. That's rules. That's the rules of life. Okay? Get some therapy. Therapy. Get it. Okay, so then next we see Dr. Nicole is getting home from her doctor job, so she had her scrubs on. And Grayson is like cooking guacamole with grandmother, aka Dr. Nicole's mom. And he's stating that he wants a little sister, and they're just talking about the baby fever. And I just hope we get to see, that whole thing happen, because that's just so cute that's being a thing. I love this story. I love this for her. I love Dr. Nicole on this show. But she's talking to her mom about, the progress of her home being remodeled. Because right now they're in their condo. And then we find out, besides the condo that they're living in currently, and the house that they're remodeling that we saw in the season premiere, they also have a house in Colorado, and then a couple of investment properties. And we also find out that she has her own investment properties that are just hers, and then they have investment properties that are kind of like theirs, but technically they're Anthony's, because they're engaged, they're not married, remember? And I'm saying that because then the mom asked about the baby and them getting married, and then she pretty much reiterates the marriage is not priority for her. It's going to be about getting this house remodeled, along with trying to have a baby, and then the marriage. And, her mom's a little cautious about that. She's like, are you sure? Like, what happens if, heaven forbid, y'all break up? What happens? And Dr. Cole's like, you know what? I can see why when it comes to a lot of women, that might be an issue, and that's even happening. She even mentioned, Lisa and her friend group, that was the issue, because Lisa was so dependent on Lenny, she's in trouble, right? And that's why this divorce is so volatile and so ugly, because she doesn't really have anything outside of Lenny. when it comes to the finances of it all. But because this marriage with potential marriage with Anthony will be her second round, because she's been married before and got divorced, and also Dr. Nicole has her own money. She doesn't have it like the luxury and lavishness that she has now that she has Anthony, but she does have her own point. So she'll be okay without him. And she makes it very clear she will be okay without him. So even though it would stink if they were to break up, she has financial independence. And so that was kind of like interesting observation because, and I think I understand a little bit more because I noticed this the first couple seasons of the reboot. A lot of the women, like Larsa, I feel like, and some of the older women kind of look at Dr. Nicole a certain way. And I think there is a little bit of, not really jealousy all the way, but they're looking at it and I think they wish they would have been like her with having, the financial independence that she has. And because a lot of us women, we learn the hard way. And me included, like I used to be financially pretty independent, and that was in a situation that I think I've mentioned in a couple of videos where I became financially dependent on a partner, and now I've worked my way out of it, but that was a work. That was uphill battle, because even in the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills that I covered earlier, Erica was speaking about that. It's something that's real, and especially with how the economy and everything's going, there's questions that are going to be asked like, hey, will I be able to buy a house? Because the way this system, especially in the United States, is set up, it's set up for partnership. It's set up for two incomes. It's not really set up for one income to be able to like really live your best life. You have to have a pretty decent job to be able to do things on your own. Which it stinks, but that's the reality. So it's interesting that no matter what class of money that you're in, the conversation a lot of times is still the same. A lot of times. Now, you have of course, you're going to have a little bit more luxury with it, but, at the end of the day, one thing I've learned, it doesn't matter how much money you make, and even with the writer strike especially, and the actor strike, a lot of people, no matter how many zeros they have as their annual income, live paycheck to paycheck. Next, we have Julia and Martina. They're going out to lunch. And basically, Martina calls out Julia kind of right away. Well, okay, before I go into that, them going to lunch is kind of a big deal because Martina, as we saw in the first episode, she really hasn't had appetite for food or anything. She hasn't been able to eat because she had throat cancer, right? So she's been on a liquid diet for a long time. And we do learn in this scene that her taste buds are finally starting to come back, where food actually, she has an appetite. So this scene is actually kind of a big deal and a little bit of a breakthrough for Martina. But then also Martina does call out Julia for forgetting about her final treatment. So we found out that she just had her final treatment for her cancer, and then she's, done. She's good to go. And she said it was rough. Like the final treatment still kind of kicked her butt. And she kind of felt a way that Julia wasn't there for her. But we find out the reason why Julia wasn't there for her is because she was overly consumed with this opera thing. For Martina. So she still ironically was thinking about Martina, but it just slipped her mind. But she does state in her confessional that there's no excuse for that. I should have been there. And you could tell right away Julia felt bad about it. And one thing about them too, even there's one season where they're like, I think it was last season when they were talking about how there's trouble in their marriage. I don't see them realistically ever leaving each other. They seem like they're lifers. Like, they're such a cute couple. They're kind of basic and kind of boring sometimes. Well, Julia is. But I do like seeing this representation on the show. So I don't ever want Julia to really leave the show. Full transparency, though, I think she probably could be. If it wasn't for Martina, I would think she would. She gives friend up energy, because sometimes I forget that Julia's there, to kind of be honest. But I don't want her to not be on the show, because I do like Julia on the show. I like the representation. I love the different aspects of the life that we're seeing. And I love the fact that we get a bonus housewife in Martina. I love that. And I'm a huge tennis fan, so I love seeing Martina on this show. It's great. But anyway, so then Gertie meets up with them. And she's asking, Martina the questions about what does she do with this cancer? How does this work? Really, trying to get some information. So she basically took, Julia up on the offer earlier in the scene earlier, and this is what we're doing right now. So we find out that Martina, with her cancer, she had chemo and radiation happening at the same time. She was just like, yeah, they told me to just get it done, just do them both at the same time. So I just got them both at the same time. And then we also find out, through the dialogue of them two, that because Gertie's, even though she's stage 1, her tumor is large enough, the tumor is large enough in her body that they are highly recommending her to get chemo. Gertie doesn't want to do that, but, most likely she might have to do it, depending on what the doctor says. I'm not exactly sure if that's on the table yet, but right now, in the conversation, she does mainly ask radiation questions, because she knows that she's going to get some radiation done. And she asks, like, what does this look like? What does it do as far as side effects and whatnot is concerned? And Martina mentions the side effects aren't too bad. It just makes you kind of red or whatever. And I love that we're seeing this on TV, but Gertie does call a thing a thing. Now, because Gertie she's darker skinned. She's a darker skinned woman. She's Haitian. And so she's like, but my skin is probably not going to get that color. So she says she's been Googling and trying to look online to see if there's any examples of what does that look like, radiation look like for someone of color. Or not really of color, of melanated variety, as black people, as black folks. And she says she couldn't find it. And, as much as that stinks, because I'm also a black woman, I know that's a thing. That is definitely has always been a problem when it comes to the medical world. Whenever you ask for examples of what it looks like on your skin versus the European standard, you're going to have a hard time finding it, because it's not going to even look the same. A lot of times it doesn't. That's why a lot of times you'll have diseases and things like that go unchecked, because it looks completely different on our skin than it would of someone of European descent. And I love in this scene that she calls it out, and because it's very true, very much true. So, but we end with Gertie, and this is one thing I love, is that despite what she's going through, she finds a way to make things light. So she asked about, does radiation affect the mojo of it all, intimacy of it all? And Martina, and this is another thing that I liked about this scene too. Martina is pretty much a straight shooter. Like, she just is very blunt and straightforward. She's like, I'm not having issues at all. I got into it when I was ready to get into it. And Julia had this smirk on her face like, no problems. I was like, yes. It was the way that scene ended. I loved it. Side note, like, I think the reason why I'm loving so far following Gertie's journey is she is just on the screen. It kind of resonates. At least I feel this way about her. She seems like such a happy, positive person. So even though this can be a sad, dark subject, there's still a light to it because it's happening to her versus feels happening to someone else. I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but like, her positive energy, even despite this, is very contagious. So I just wanted to call that out. All right, so in the final scene, we have Larsa and Marcus preparing for that charity event and talking it through, getting, the last steps going. It's the day of. And then we fast forward to 6 hours later, and the ladies are on their way to the charity event, and Adriana and Marisol are fighting, going full on at it. And that concludes the episode. So overall, it was an alright episode. It's kind of a filler episode, to be honest. There was some news development a little bit here. I still don't like Larsa. But I've never liked Larsa, so that's nothing's changed there. And yeah. I don't really have much to say about it. It was a pretty short episode. But anyway, please like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you get anything out of the content. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Hi there. Welcome again to Melanin Nostalgia Runner channel, YouTube channel. My name is Sharon. Today, the series that I wanted to present to you all is the Train With Me series. Thinking about doing this training series, I was going to start when I started training for a race, and right now I'm actually at tail end of training for a race. I have a race coming up pretty soon. But this is actually different than any other times I've been training because I am trying to get back to where I can do the race and it's not a pain. I did injure myself in the middle of training. And of course it was not related to training at all. I broke my toe just by stuffing it on a couch that has been in the same spot forever.